Are we recording? We're live. We're live. Hello, everyone. Mr. Stack here. Full Stack is the name. I will be your web instructor for this YouTube series, in which we'll be covering full stack technologies, in which that's going to pretty much incorporate 5 languages, mainly HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL. Well, in order to become a web developer, which is the reason why you're here, you're going to need to pretty much handle these. You're going to be able to do these pretty much proficiently. By the time we finish HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, at this point, you should be able to then start pretty much finalizing your portfolio and applying for jobs. However, if you want to make a little more money and, of course, be a lot more marketable, you're going to need PHP and MySQL. So, the HTML portion, that's pretty much, you can just pretty much think about that as a Word document of text, or any other text editor for simply typing letters and or stories, with, of course, the ability to add a few images. Or you can think of a PowerPoint presentation with images and text. However, it all looks like crap without CSS. So, HTML is pretty much very similar to a standard newspaper that you would actually be reading. And of course, if you want that newspaper to look more like a nice magazine with well-structured content and layout, you'll then jump on to the CSS to assist the HTML. From here, we need to make everything a little more dynamic, meaning as of the HTML and CSS, with that, it's pretty much stuff that's just standing still. Everything's pretty stagnant or static. So the JavaScript, that's going to pretty much handle user events, clicks. So for example, let's say a user submits a form or a user clicks on an image and something happens. Maybe that image pops out. Va-va! Who knows? Or maybe there's some type of logic that's handled on the front end. For example, maybe you create a calculator with kind of like a user form where you enter in one number and then another number, and a user then clicks calculate. That's something that I had to work on last week. So if you want to do that, JavaScript can handle that. JavaScript is primarily used on the front end. However, these days it can be used on the back end as well with Node. But that's something that we'll pretty much, maybe we'll jump on that later on in the course, but not necessarily needed for now. However, JavaScript is primarily one of the top 5 programming languages used, and it's used everywhere. Once we get a good handle of this, you can then move on to frameworks like React, Vue, or Angular. Yeah, there's a lot of options here, a lot of options. So I'll be pretty much holding your hand all throughout this process. PHP and MySQL, we'll actually use those hand in hand. An example of PHP, which is more of a back-end type of language, that's going to be able to handle an example, let's say user authentication. So you know how when you go to an email site and you log in and you want to check your email, well, sometimes I enter my username and password incorrectly. Well, not sometimes, pretty much all the time. But hey, somewhere, somehow, when you submit that form using PHP or JavaScript, that data has to go to the backend. That data needs to be handled by PHP, and then PHP will then reach out to the MySQL database and say, hey, wait a minute, my username was incorrect or my password was incorrect. So that's an example of the backend technology of PHP and MySQL. So, again, welcome to the series. We're going to try to keep everything short, sweet, and simple. I am Mr. Stack, or Full Stack, in which that's something that you'll become as a full stack web developer during this series. We're going to take it very slow. Take it one line at a time. Okay? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can simply email me directly and I'll respond right back to you. Or you can just post a comment in there. But make sure it's a good comment, or I will find you. And okay. So yeah, you can just pretty much post a comment and I'll respond. Okay. I'll hold your hand all throughout the actual process. Okay. Full stack out. I will talk to you later and get ready for the next video. All right. Good luck in your quest to become a full stack web developer.